Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. Welcome to my channel today. For this video, I'm very excited to bring you. On my channel, I strive to bring you the best tips and tools for creating beautiful home decor on a budget. And today I'm bringing you 10 new Christmas DIYs that are budget friendly, that look great, and are easy to make. Anybody can make these using a few supplies from the Dollar Tree or the dollar store. If you're new to my channel today, I hope you'll consider sticking around by hitting that subscribe button. And everybody, if you would give this video a big thumbs up, it really helps me to grow my channel and bring you new content each week. Also, notifications have been a little wonky with YouTube, so hit the bell. Make sure your notifications are set to all for my channel so YouTube will notify you every time I upload new content. Thanks again for being here. I really hope you enjoy these DIYs, so let's get on with it. For DIY number one, I'm just showing you how easy it is to take a few supplies and make a really pretty farmhouse Christmas wreath. This grapevine wreath was from a thrift store. I believe this ribbon was in the Walmart clearance, but there's lots of different choices at Dollar Tree and Dollar General. So all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take this length of ribbon and just wrap it around my wreath, trying to space it as evenly as possible and just hot gluing each of the ends. Then taking some jute twine from Dollar Tree, and I have these 3 different wooden stars. I think one of them is from Dollar Tree, but you can find these sometimes even cheaper at places like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. So taking 3 different lengths of the twine, I'm hot gluing each of my stars to one of these pieces of string, and then I'm going to tie them all together so that the stars hang at slightly different lengths. I do end up adding a tiny bit of hot glue to attach the 3 stars to each other so that they're not all flipping around and things like that, so that they hang how I want them to hang from the center of the wreath. Now just taking any greenery that you have, any Christmas florals maybe that you picked up from Dollar Tree or Walmart, just kind of add a little bit of greenery as a point of interest here at the top of your wreath. This is actually a small Christmas tree that was missing some pieces, so I'm just taking them off a branch at a time, and you can see I just have like 4 on each side there. Then I'm taking 2 of these silver bells that I had on hand. I know that Dollar Tree is carrying these again this year, which is awesome. And I'm just stringing those here, and I'm going to attach those at the top of my wreath. And this string will also serve as the hanger to hang our wreath on a wreath hanger on the door. And here it is. It was simple, just using a few supplies. Of course, you can modify this to fit your decor. I just am really loving the red and silver and then that natural wood. For DIY number 2, we're going to take 2 of these standing jar signs that you can find at Dollar Tree, and then a set of these 3 small gift bags from Dollar Tree along with some paint and Mod Podge. So these do come with like foam and felt decorations on the front. I can't really use my left hand, but I'm just showing you that I warm them up with my blow dryer and then scrape those off. I did then go ahead and lightly sand where the wording was and where that decoration was stuck on, just to kind of get it a smooth surface. So I am showing you one of the white ones, one of the wood ones, it doesn't matter. This cute little set of 3 gift bags, they fit the front of this jar almost perfectly. So I decided to use the one with the 2 snow people and then the one with Santa. So I'm going to be using quite a few gift bags and gift boxes in this video because you can find them pretty much everywhere. Giving my jars a coat of white Waverly chalk paint, front, back, and the sides. We're just going to give ourselves a nice clean palette before we attach any pictures to the front. So now that that is all dry, I'm taking the Mod Podge, the matte finish Mod Podge you can find at Dollar Tree, and giving it a nice little layer. I believe I do spritz the front of the gift bag just a little bit just to help it stick down and not have wrinkles. As you can see, it's almost exactly the height and width of this jar. So just smoothing it down to get out any air bubbles. We're just going to let that dry on both of our jars. Once that is completely dry, taking some scissors, I'm just going to trim a little bit closer to the edge of the jar sign, and then I'm going to use my sanding sponge to get the edges nice and clean. We'll use a downward motion and it will get all the rest of that paper off of the edges. And do that to both of your signs. Now I'm taking a small little piece here of Reynolds wrap, aluminum foil. I would recommend using the heavy duty because it won't tear as easily. And before we attach that, I am using my hot glue gun to make 2 raised lines, kind of where the lines on the jar lid would be. So we'll just go across there on both of our signs and let that dry completely. Once it's dry, take your aluminum foil, and you can see I'm kind of pressing down and around those lines. We're using the foil here to create the lid for each of our jars. I will use a little bit of tacky glue. You could use Mod Podge just to make sure that that foil stays attached to our jars. And you'll do this on both of your signs. Once that is completely dry, I will just take my utility knife from Dollar Tree and just carefully trim the excess foil off. And there you go. You have a really cute lid for your jar. Now I wanted to decorate this up just a little bit, so I'm going to take a piece of jute twine and wrap it around just a few times. And then I'm using some of these small wood snowflakes from Hobby Lobby, but you could definitely use the little snowflake ornaments that are at Dollar Tree. You get like 6 of them, I think, for $1. So tying a knot there and then just stringing the snowflake on one of the strings and then tying a knot to secure it, and it kind of hangs down really cute. Just gives a little added touch to these jars. And here's what they look like. I think we've really taken these jar signs and kicked them up a few notches for Christmas, and these were very simple to make. For DIY number 3, I'm going to use one of these plastic snow globes, some snow, the little truck and light post, and Christmas tree, and then I am going to make a stand for this snow globe as well. So I will tell you ahead of time, this was my first time making one of these snow globes, and so I'm going to show you what I tried that worked and what did not work. But first of all, I'm just kind of figuring out what I can fit on the little insert that will be inside the snow globe. I decided to take off the little plastic truck or tree from the truck and add one of these tiny ones that I got at Dollar Tree. Just looked a little more realistic. So hot gluing that into the bed of the truck. And then I am going to just fit the truck, the light post, and one Christmas tree. So that's what I'm going to then hot glue to the insert. There's the little truck, he's so cute, and the tree, and then the light post. Next, I'm going to add some snow to that base, some faux snow. This stuff a little bit goes a long way. You do not need more than one bag of this, but just putting down some hot glue there and then adding a little bit of the snow so that it will stay in place once the snow globe is filled up. This is just a wood candlestick that I got at a thrift store. You don't need to watch me paint it, but I did paint it black. And then I did my dry brushing of white over the top just to give it a little bit more of a rustic look. You've seen me do this before, so we can skip ahead. Now, I did get this baby oil at Dollar Tree in the baby aisle. If you use baby oil, you will need 2 bottles to fill this jar. What I made the mistake of first, you can see I'm putting way too much snow in there with the baby oil, and I end up having to dump it and put just a little bit of snow in. But I will tell you, the baby oil allows the snow to move around. I'm going to show you here in a minute what happened when I tried it just with water, and you'll see the difference. I mean, that's okay. You can still kind of see the truck, but I felt like I had put too much snow in this first attempt. I'm just taking here some red and white check ribbon. I believe this was from Valentine's at Dollar Tree, but I thought it went nicely. So just hot gluing that around the edge of the lid for the snow globe. Okay, so here I'm showing you the snow globe with water. Do you see how all the snow is like clumped together at the top? With water, the snow does not float around like with the baby oil. So do yourself a favor if you want to make one of these and have it look realistic, use baby oil instead of water in your snow globe. Lesson learned. All right, so then I'm just hot gluing that to the top of the candlestick. And this last part is optional, but I wanted just to add a tiny little bit of greenery and a few red berries to the front side of my snow globe, just for a little added decoration. And here's our finished snow globe. So cute. And here, I'll shake it for you so you can see the snow floating around. And you can see there's a little bit of space at the top. You could use another little bit of a bottle of baby oil. DIY number 4, we are using a gift bag, a pizza pan, and some nautical rope. I do end up also using a little bit of Christmas greenery as well. So I really loved this bag from Dollar General. It's a really good quality. It's thick, and it was $2. I figure I can get 2 signs out of it since it is 2-sided. This side has a little bit more foiling on the Merry Christmas words and on the berries. So I'm just cutting out that front side, and then the way I figure out how big my circle needs to be is this is the back of the pizza pan, and then the gift bag over top, and I'm just kind of bending it or creasing it where the pizza pan is, and then I'm gonna cut that out. So it fit pretty close to awesome, and it's okay on the edges because we are gonna put some nautical rope on there. to cover up the edge. So just now using my Mod Podge, I'm going to give a nice layer on my pizza pan. Oops, used too much, so now I'm having to take some off. And getting that bag graphic there on the pizza pan and smoothing it out to make sure there are no creases or air bubbles. Now I didn't want to see that silver, so I'm taking malachite, which is this really pretty, I would call it like a Christmas green, and I'm going to carefully just paint that top edge all the way around my pizza pan. Once that's dry, I'm taking, this is the thinner nautical rope. I think this is new this year, but you can use whatever rope that you have just to, again, add a little farmhouse touch and also cover up the cut edge of the gift bag graphic. Before I add any more decoration to the front, I'm just taking a small little piece of jute twine and hot gluing it to the back here so you could hang this on the wall if you wanted. This is a bow with a flower that I made for something else and ended up taking it off. I'm just going to put this at the top. There's my shoulder. Gotta have it in every video, right? And just hot gluing that to the top. You could use any sort of bow or flower that you want. And then here at the bottom, I'm just going to put a couple little pieces of greenery and some berries. I just wanted to give this a little bit more of a three-dimensional look rather than it just being completely flat. And here's what our pizza pan sign looks like. So simple and so customizable for your decor. I just thought this image on this gift bag was too cute to not make a sign of. For DIY number 5, I'm using one of these DIY nativity sets from Dollar General. It was $3, and 2 square signs from Dollar Tree along with some paint. I did show that grass stuff, Excelsior. I'm not going to end up using that, but you totally could. So these, I was really pleased with the quality of these. I wish I would have bought more than one set. Hopefully they'll have them again next year. But I really wanted to darken up the look of these wood pieces. So using my antique wax, you've seen me use before, you brush it on, let it sit for a minute, and then wipe off the excess. It just gave a darker stain look to these nativity pieces. Here I have had these 2 square signs for quite a while, I think from last fall, but I liked the squareness, and putting 2 of them together, it gives us the perfect size sign for this nativity as a background. Just taking 2 of my jumbo craft sticks, I'm going to hot glue these to the seam and at the top and bottom to connect our 2 signs together. Once those were on there, I did take a little of this hole filler or spackle, just ran it along the seam to try and make this look like one big piece. And then I also did fill in the holes at the top of each sign. And just give that a light sanding once that is dry to make our surface even and ready to paint. And that's what we're going to do next. I'm just going to give it a coat of Waverly white chalk paint, and a couple places like where the words were, I maybe needed to go back over it a second time, but pretty much this paint will cover in one coat. Next, I'm taking a yardstick, and these signs were 11 inches tall, so I wanted to make it look like 4 pieces of pallet wood. So I'm going to mark at 2 3/4, 5 1/2, what would that be, like 8 1/4, and then you've got your lines that you can make with a pencil to make it look like palette wood. I saw someone else do this and I thought it was genius, just to kind of rub out the pencil marks to make it look a little more blended and like palette wood. I'm going to use actual Jenga blocks, but you can use the tumbling tower blocks for this. I'm just making a frame now for my sign, using my yardstick to make sure my blocks are straight. And I'm going to let those dry completely and then give them a coat of my ink Waverly chalk paint. While those are drying, I wanted to rustic up? That's not even a word. I wanted to make my board look a little more rustic, and so I took some truffle paint and went over it and then sanded it to blend. However, I noticed that you could start to see the word gather there, and so then I went back over with a little bit of white. So, you know, this is whatever you want it to be. So you can just keep playing around with it until you get it to look how you want it. Once my frame pieces were dry, I am going to take wood glue and glue the frame together, and then be sure to let that dry completely before you move on to the next step. I did try to move it too soon and had to re-glue and wait even longer. So patience is a virtue. Speaking of the tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, have you guys gotten the basically double size sets? I think they're like a Christmas item because they have 72 blocks in them still for $1. Anyway, now that my frame is completely dry, I'm just going around my sign with hot glue, and then I'm going to flip it over and glue it to the back of the Jenga block frame, just centering it on there as evenly as I can. And now I'm just arranging the nativity pieces in here. I do kind of layer a couple of the pieces there. You see the camel and the shepherd, and then I will layer, I think it's the kneeling wise man. And you can also see that I did take a gold paint marker and painted the star at the top of the nativity. And here's what it looks like with all the pieces glued down. You could use some of that hay looking stuff if you wanted, but I liked the clean and simple look of this. I hope you guys love this. This is probably my favorite thing I made in this video. All right, for DIY number 6, I'm using one of these jar signs, another gift bag, and some Mod Podge. I really loved the image of that car. Using a scraper, I scraped off the wording that was on the jar sign and then just peeled off that burlap at the top. So like I did before, I'm just going to cut that front piece of the gift bag, and then I'm kind of not really centering this, but I'm placing it so the car is kind of off to the right side, and then on the left there will be some trees and some space for the words that I want to add to the sign. So just simple as that. Trace and then cut, and then we're going to Mod Podge the gift bag image to the jar sign. Next, I'm going to use some of this thin jute twine, and I'm going to just wrap it a bunch of times around the top lid part of the jar, not all the way to the top, but right up until it starts to curve in, because it would be really hard to get it to stay. So right about there, leaving that little bit of red at the top, and then just hot glue the end and trim the excess off. Now, using one of my Elmer's paint markers from Walmart in red, I'm just going to write warm winter wishes. I probably could have written it a little bit bigger, but I just love how that red pops off of those trees in the background. And of course, you could write whatever you wanted on here. You could write Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Season's Greetings, any of those wonderful things. The last thing I wanted to do, it just looked a little too plain on the edges, so I am taking some antique wax and I'm going to age this piece now. So I'm taking that antique wax around the edges and then I'm going to rub it out just to make this look older. And then I do end up doing the whole top there of the jar, and then I even do a little bit in the middle, like in the actual image, just to give it some texture and some added interest. And here it is with a little hanger on the back. What else would you guys add to this? I was thinking maybe adding an actual wreath where the wreath on the car is. But anyway, I still love it. DIY number 7, I'm going to use 2 of these incense holders, 4 tumbling tower blocks, some greenery, either one of the crates from Dollar Tree or 2 of the smaller crates from Michael's. So if you can't find these crates at Dollar Tree, you can always get these at Michael's for 99 cents. They are smaller, but I'm just taking 2 of them and using my Gorilla Wood glue, attaching them together and holding them with clamps until they are dried completely. While I'm waiting for that, I'm taking 2 of these incense stick holders. They looked like runners on a sleigh to me, so I'm just going to paint those black and also paint these 4 tumbling tower blocks with my black paint as well. And I did give these a light sanding just to make them look a little older. Once my crates were glued together, I did paint them with my Crimson Waverly chalk paint. And here you can see how I'm now going to build my sleigh. I'm going to hot glue these 4 tumbling tower blocks to the bottom of my now bigger crate with 2 small crates put together. And these will hold the sleigh up from the 2 runners or the incense stick holders. Now these are customizable. I just had these on hand. I believe they were unfinished from Hobby Lobby or Michael's, but you could decorate the sides of your sleigh with whatever you'd like. Maybe you want to use an ornament from Dollar Tree. This is just what I had, so I'm going to hot glue these, one on each of the long sides of my sleigh. Now I'm going to add a small piece of floral foam into each of the sides of the crate, and then using some of this, I believe it's called reindeer moss, I'm going to just put a little hot glue on top of the floral foam and just use some of this moss to cover up the floral foam. I will say I did also hot glue those 2 blocks of floral foam into the bottom of the crate. Now comes the fun part where you can just start adding in whatever Christmas greenery you have. I had this, I don't even know what it was, a centerpiece of some sort, came through the thrift store and it was going in the trash, so I rescued it and just cut some random pieces off of it. We've got the pine and then some of those snowy branches and then some of these snowy berries, just kind of sticking them in and arranging them. I am not a floral arranger, so just whatever looks good to you. And here's how my little crate sleigh turned out. I love it. I think it is so cute and will add a pop of color to any table or wherever you want to put it. DIY number 8. I have had these pennant banner signs forever, and I always see them at Dollar Tree. I have these letters and this red and black paper from Hobby Lobby. Now, I'm pretty sure you can find these all the time. So I finally figured out what I wanted to do with them. I was just taping the string so it wasn't in my way, and then using my black paint, just painting that top part so it will match our scrapbook paper a little bit better. I'm going to do this on all 4 of the pennant signs, the front and the top and the sides, just of that little raised piece. All right, next step is our trusty Mod Podge. We're going to put a nice layer on the front of this sign. There was a little bit of glitter on the words, but I didn't worry about that. I'm just going to Mod Podge this red and black buffalo check paper using the slight spritzing method. It really does help you get the bubbles out, and you can use a credit card if you want. I just find it's easier to just use my hands. So all 4 of these signs, you are going to Mod Podge this paper on. When that is completely dry, just use your utility knife and trim off the excess paper. And you can use that same method with the sanding sponge, just cleaning up the edges. Now, I happened to find these letters at a thrift store. You can buy letters this big if you want, or you can cut letters out of foam board or paper. So I did NEL, and then I'm going to show you a couple different Dollar Tree options for making the O. You can use the garland. You can use one of those willow wreaths. I decided to use a few more pieces of that same sad little Christmas tree, and I'm using 3 of these branches. They are wire inside, so I could kind of bend them into the shape of an O. But if you don't have that, just use a piece of the garland from Dollar Tree, wrap it around a few times, and there's your O. So I'm going to hot glue those down into the shape of my O, and then I'm going to just add a little bit more decoration to it. And then this project will be done. So here you can see I also used a little bit of that berry garland just right over top in another shape of an O. And here's how these Noel banner signs turned out. These could hang horizontally like this or even vertically on a wall. DIY number 9. This is the simplest one. Okay, I'm using an 8x10 canvas, and this came in a set of 3 gift boxes. I'm using my antique wax. So this is an 8x10 stretched canvas. The thing that takes the longest is removing all these staples. Of course, you don't have to, but I just wanted to be able to reuse the canvas. You could just rip those things off if you wanted to. This has a really nice set of 3 gift boxes for $1 at Dollar Tree, and look at how perfectly they fit inside this 8x10 frame. I absolutely love it. I did decide to do the truck, and so I'm going to take my antique wax and I'm going to, like before, darken up the wood. I just really think it adds a lot of value and just makes this piece look more high-end when you have that darker wood stain. But do you guys agree? Maybe that's just my opinion. I'm just into the darker wood look. Paint the inside and outside of your frame as well. Then taking the box, I'm just opening it up flat so I can trim off the sides, and then we will put our sign together. So simply adding hot glue to the back side of the wood frame, we're going to just flip that over and stick it down with our image centered inside. Once that is completely attached and dry, we'll just trim off that extra piece of the gift box. And I just think this is stinking adorable. And I loved it so much, I went back to Dollar Tree, got 2 more canvases, so I could do the same thing to the other 2 boxes. So literally you made these 3 signs for $4 total. Love them. DIY number 10, our final one for today. I'm using 3 of these snow globe signs 2 of the 'Tis the Season, a snowflake, a J, and a Y, and some of these artificial trees. So I thought these were so cute with the little snowflakes on the side. I am going to hot glue them together and hold them with clamps so that we have a larger base for this project. Next, with my snow globes, I'm just going to remove the jute twine that is around each of them and any little bit of glue. I wanted to try to match that darker blue stripe color, so I'm using Ocean Waverly chalk paint and a little of this teal. It's a Martha Stewart paint called Lagoon, and I just mixed a little bit of the two, but of course use whatever paint you have on hand. I know this project does not kind of match the color scheme of the rest, but I'm also thinking ahead to January where I still want snowmen and that kind of thing more in the blues. So if you like non-traditional Christmas colors, this project is for you. I filled in the whole of the snowflake, and then I'm going to give that a coat of my white Waverly chalk paint. The J and the Y here are from Walmart. They're like, I don't know, 97 cents or something, or no, like $1.09. Anyway, they're cheap. And I painted those white as well. Now for the bottom part of my snow globes, I'm just using my Truffle Waverly chalk paint to make it look a little darker, like dark wood. And I'm going to paint that base on all 3 of my snow globes. Taking my sanding sponge, I'm just going to roughen up the edges a little bit and then sand that bottom base part that is brown. Taking a piece of jute twine, I'm just going to go one time around just to kind of cover up that line between the blue paint and the brown. You can also see that I took a fat white paint marker and made that like glare on each of the 3 snow globes just to make them look a little bit more realistic, like snow globes. So using some silver sticker letters that I've had forever, I'm going to do to the world. So the whole sign itself will say joy to the world. So the goes on the middle one, and then to is on the J, and then world is under the Y. So I'm going to glue these kind of staggered. The J and the Y will be at the front on either side, and the snowflake will be a little bit behind. I'm trying to get a better camera angle for you guys. So just hot gluing those in place, and you can see I left the back how they were when I bought them at Dollar Tree. I decided I just wanted to add some trees to this. I had a bunch of different size ones, and then I'm also going to add a couple more of those little snowflakes. That tree was a little too short, so I do end up putting a wood block under it, and then a couple of these smaller trees at the front, just for a little extra interest on this piece. And here's the finished product. I absolutely love how it turned out. It kind of evolved as I was going along. But that is the end of these 10 Christmas DIYs. I would love to know in the comments which one of these 10 projects was your favorite. And also let me know, do you guys like this type of video where I'm giving you simple projects to make? I know sometimes my DIYs are a little more involved, but just let me know. And I hope you guys give this video a big thumbs up. See you next time. Bye.